I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite
podcast
on the Citadel.
You are listening to Accidentally Casual, the gaming podcast that's probably nerdier than it should be.
Yeah.
My name is Minius of Minius GC, and with me is Tucker from Talking About Games.
Hello.
So Tucker is a game designer, and I'm a dude with a big voice who plays a lot of games, and
Although,
together we podcast.
I am a game designer. I have experience with all this stuff, but I just started my job working as a dog handler, which has been absolutely incredible.
I knew you were going to get into this, and I really didn't want you to.
Oh,
because
I work with puppies.
You're way too into it. Yeah, but you work with puppies.
I'm working with puppies. How can you not be into that?
Because you're too into it, and it makes sense. Just so you know, you're legally working with puppies, and you're being paid. So if your puppy
illegally?
Yeah, so if your puppy was kidnapped, it probably wasn't Tucker.
Oh. And I have like a weird history, though, with dogs and stuff like that, because one of the first things that I worked on when I was at school was a dog video game, or it was kind of the final project of my bachelor's degree, was to make a game from scratch to quote-unquote release with a small team in 6 months. And it was a dog-based video game where you play as a dog and you destroy objects and stuff. And
you destroy stuff, and that's your RPG, and then you level up by destroying shit.
Yeah, and Tom Taylorson was in it.
Absolutely awful if your dog actually did that and got points for it.
Well, you see, the idea behind it were that there were these shades that lived inside these objects, and they harnessed their energy, and they wanted to destroy humanity. And Tom Taylorson lent his voice to those characters in the game. Because Tom Taylorson, who did
that was
the
really
guy
nice of him,
in
by the way.
Mass Effect Andromeda, he started doing Octodad, which was a school project.
Aren't you supposed to, isn't he not supposed to not get credit?
Well, yeah, we just don't have any, like, any of the credit stuff for that.
So you're saying it in a publicly recorded place?
I mean, that'll be fine.
Yeah, you say that, it's never true.
It'll be fine.
So this was your attempt to tangent it back to the plot, but I'm not actually done with the intro yet, though. So this is why this is not going to work.
But this was the intro.
No, I'm not done yet. What I was going to say is this show comes out every week, but it's coming out earlier today. It's usually between Wednesday and Friday. I think Thursday is the day I want to put it out the very next day. But
so this is going out Thursday, not Friday?
This is almost certainly going to come out Wednesday. Unless something
Wednesday.
really goes
so
wrong.
Not even Thursday.
Not even Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. We usually record on Wednesdays. Today we're recording a day earlier because Cyberpunk's coming out, and I want to play that, and I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I've heard.
Which is understandable. But if you check Wednesday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, 5 at night in the UK, 6 at night in Poland, and 4 a.m. on the West Coast, or did I say West Coast? It's East Coast of Australia. And I guess that's actually technically a Saturday. We do have Australian listeners. I'm really excited about that.
That's kind of cool. But dude, yeah. I got no idea of those time zones. Like, you're talking about like the east side of Australia. I'm like, I know where that is on a map, but I don't know what time it is.
See, they change it. I think it's... I can't even... Australian Eastern Standard Time?
Does Australia have multiple time zones? Are they big enough to do that?
Australia is huge, man. Australia is huge.
Well, yeah, but I mean, time zones are weird. Like, Arizona has its own time zone. I don't know if...
Yeah, well, that's it. Arizona just doesn't change time zones and back. But China, for instance, is enormous and only has one time zone. That's weird. But Australia has like 5. And they have the ones where they have the half-hour time zone sometimes. And that always bugs me. And it really shouldn't matter at all.
There was actually a thing that, like a random fact thing that I learned, that there was an attack on an airport where someone tried to bomb it, but it failed because they misjudged on daylight savings time. That I think it was China or something doesn't recognize daylight savings time, so the bomb was mistimed, and it only killed the people that were going to do harm. So cool. But yeah,
that's one of the better terrorist fuck ups.
Yeah, but so when I was with school, when I was working with this dog project, we first had to make a pitch for it. And one of the first videos that is still on my channel, just because I don't want to delete it, just because it was one of my school
I
assignments.
don't delete anything. Yeah, just keep everything up, man.
Well, I have some things that are on there that are unlisted, just like other parts of school projects. But with this one being one of the final school projects, and other people worked on it too. I don't know if they want to use it in resumes or portfolio or whatnot, if they still want to use their college thing for it. But one of the earliest videos on my channel is the pitch, the original pitch I have for the game. And you can kind of see like the idea of what it was and so on like that. And then the video after that is the final project of it. And you can see how it changed from the pitch to the final release, as well as it shows like what the game looked like in week 1 all the way to the end of month 6, where we had art styles and stuff like that, when in week 1 it's literally like the dog is bubbles put together. And the area is just literally blocks and stuff. The character just jumps with no animation and so on like that. But it was fun. And talking about game pitches, though, you apparently had people email us.
That's right. accidentallycasual@gmail.com. That is an email address, and we actually read it. Although I left a lot of these game pitches and then just read them recently. But you can also hit us on Twitter. I'm at MiniusGC. Tucker's at Appy Tucker. And this show is all about Mass Effect game pitches, which we asked for, and we got a bunch of them, and we're going to go over them, although they're probably not in the style of your thing. Almost all of them are just story-based.
Oh, I wouldn't imagine that any of them would be, because when, like...
I mean, I wouldn't know what to do.
Well, and it makes sense that, on the outside looking in, and a very poor way of wording it. I don't know how else to say it, but from someone that's like has some education with the industry and been in it a little bit, but someone that is outside of it, when you say, hey, what's a game idea? They will probably give you like a story or something like that, like of a Mass Effect game or a Halo game or Gears or just any popular series. If you're like, if you made the next game, what would it be? They typically do a story.
Yeah, go right into the story. With
game pitches, you also have to talk about mechanics, the flow of the game, of where the character starts, where they would end. I mean, in more specifics, you'd even have to go into things like what the budget would be, what engine you would use, art style.
Asking people to do that would be too much, man.
Other pitches include like what would be potential competitors of the game, and where could we do research for certain mechanics, and what are potential issues that we could come across. Like we're not doing almost any of those. Yeah, I know.
But what I wanted to do is I was like, okay, here's things we can look at these at. The first thing was like, I want to say whether or not I want to play this game. I want to play all these games a lot. So that's ruined. I was like, dude, I want to play that game. But we'll look at from a standpoint of whether or not it's actually feasible from a business side and other kind of stuff like that. So you want to just jump right into it?
Yeah, sure.
These are almost in no particular order. But we'll start out, and then at the end, we'll drop in some of our stuff. And we're allowed to go off however we want to. Okay, so the first game suggestion is from Grandmaster Chris in the comments section. He wants to know if the next Mass Effect game is taking place in the Milky Way after Mass Effect 3, it should take place 50,000 years in the future. That way you have more of a chance of getting around Mass Effect 3's ending without making one of the official endings canon.
But
50,000 years.
But would that still work? Because I feel like if you pick the ending where like you stop the Reapers, or like you make them no longer exist, isn't the point of them to stop life to getting to such a point where they essentially merge with AI so much that they become like the same? And so after 50,000 years, they would be at that point essentially only AI flesh hybrids.
I think 50,000 years is enough time to do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of time, but I just like, because the whole point of
I've seen that suggestion before, but it's always like several hundred years. And I was thinking like
Several
2 or
hundred
3,000
would
years.
not be enough time.
No, that's
no.
what I was saying. I was thinking it'd have to be several thousand years.
That's right, because
So-
you would have some characters that still were like potentially alive during that time.
Yeah, like if baby
Krogans
Grunt would be
Yeah,
alive theoretically for another 1,000 years.
Would Liara? No, because
Liara at least have another 800 years left.
yeah. How long did Krogan live for?
About 1,000, and
Was it
Asari live about 1,000.
Okay, yeah. I thought they were about the same.
Yeah.
Sure.
So Liara's young for an Asari. She's like 150. Someone's going to know the exact date.
Yeah.
But basically, she's like 150.
Does Grunt
And-
still have a full Krogan lifespan, even though he was born from a vat?
That is unclear.
Because I know he was
Theoretically,
supposed to be like a chance to spawn Krogan through vats and stuff like that. So I don't know if that would change.
It's unclear if his life is shorter or potentially longer. So, but yeah, there's a lot of issues with that. But
that
50,000.
Did you know
50,000
that
is
horseshoe crabs
I
can't
don't
die
care.
from old age?
Did you know that 50,000 years is enough to change an entire universe?
It is, but I mean, I still feel like that has repercussions for.
If you're going to do a sequel to a Mass Effect 3 or continue in the Milky Way galaxy, there are not a whole lot of ways to do it. This is one.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it really
You're
feels
really,
like
really boxed into a corner. Because basically those endings, and they feel very similar when you're doing it, but they are fundamentally split. So it's very difficult. You either have to have some other race come in and undo it, or have it be so long where everything's so messed up. For instance, maybe the AI organic integration for synthesis just doesn't work, and then the Reapers break down from being active too long, and 50,000 years is enough to take place for them to virtually be in the same spot and have it be past history.
Also, my fact was wrong with the horseshoe crabs, but I know that they have something, like their blood is good with cancer, or something like that.
Basically, you have no clue, and that's why I wanted to cut you off.
Well, I mean, sometimes I'll talk out my ass, but I was like, the horseshoe, because I know that there was something with horseshoe crabs, and I got reminded of that because Krogan, because they're both like, I don't know, when I look at Krogan, I don't get reminded of frogs, even though I kind of do, but I get reminded of like horseshoe crabs. Probably because I'm like on the island that I was from in South Carolina, that there was a lot of horseshoe crabs that we find on the
I
beach.
literally never ever think of horseshoe crabs, so I was trying to think of why the hell you do. That makes sense.
You see them come up on the beach, and man, they are disgusting. You flip them over if they're dead, and it's because it's like a crab that the whole top of it is the shell, and
As a lot of
it's like a
crabs are.
spider thing, and oh man, it is.
Yeah,
You can get some nasty stuff that way.
usually crabs are covered on the top with a shell.
Well, I meant like they have an extremely hard top of the shell, and I know crabs have a soft underbelly, but literally horseshoe crabs is just flesh underneath there. Like if they get flipped on their back, they're kind of screwed, I think, from that at that point.
One thing I did want to get to is, let's say you're doing a Mass Effect game. It's set in the Mass Effect universe. What does a Mass Effect game absolutely have to have?
In what sense?
Like, in order to be successful and not really piss people off.
I mean, mechanic-wise, choice-based system, romance.
Choice-based systems, very good. That would include romance, right?
Yes. Well, yes. There are some games that have romance that's not really choice-based, and there's some games that have choice that don't have romance. But
yeah,
I feel like the romances in Mass Effect are
I think the most general way to put it is, no matter whether you're doing, let's say for some reason you want to do an RTS or something really random, what it needs to have is a character-driven story with choices and dialogue options.
You think if there was an RTS, a Mass Effect RTS game, you think it would still have to be character-driven?
Absolutely.
Individually character-driven. So,
well, have characters and have conversations, because without that, it's too far away from the Mass Effect brand, and you're just going to piss people off. You're going to piss them off.
I mean, there are numerous examples of times their games have gone off-brand and have been successful. I mean,
True.
Mario's entire MO is having
that's
every different type of game. I mean, there's Mario Kart, then there's the normal
Mass
Mario
Effect
games.
is not Mario.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Halo's also gone from first-person shooters to RTS. Gears of War, a very popular third-person shooter. I heard their XCOM style game, although wasn't majorly successful, monetary wise, still pretty fun. That it still has an enjoyable base with it.
Well, being that the primary things of those two games, and I know Halo's got a story-driven...
Warcraft also was as an MMO that also was an RTS.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm just saying, knowing Mass Effect fans like I do, that shit's not going to fly.
I mean,
that shit is not going to fly.
It would absolutely have to be it would have to be unique in the manner of maybe, like, there's different ways we could have an RTS. It could be
so
XCOM.
you would be, by the way, I was going to bring that up, actually, an XCOM, and that's not really RTS, that's mostly turn-based strategy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's real-time strategy was the sense that I was implying with it, but yeah,
it's absolutely turn-based strategy, but it's in a similar thing. I think that would work. So this actually folds into the next suggestion. Brandon, how about once a Halo Wars style game revolving around Anderson and the defense of Earth?
That was my exact idea for a Mass Effect RTS.
Are you Brandon?
Place. Maybe I am. Brandon.
Are you commenting under other names?
I mean, sure. But I was absolutely thinking of, and so this is gonna be fun. So, like, Brandon, you shouldn't have emailed this. So
I knew this was a bad idea.
Essentially been like as Brandon said with Mass Effect 3, where you take command as either Anderson or another higher person up like that. The names are all slipping me right now, but you would be.
Anderson's the guy on Earth.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Nobody
I
else
mean,
has
the other leaders of like the council or all those people, but
they could be dead.
It would be during the time of Mass Effect 3, while Shepard's off, doing his thing. You would essentially be commanding the armies around the other planets and so on like that, like trying to get everyone together in an XCOM style, where it's the system in Mass Effect 3, the Ready system, but you have that with each race in the style of XCOM where they have different countries. So you have to like you may have a mission choice where you have to help the Krogan, but the Asari also need help getting some people off-world, and you need to make a choice of who you're going to help.
You're talking about, as far as XCOM goes, the campaign style, where you just don't have enough time to help everybody.
Yeah, and you do something similar to that, where you just try your best to get everyone together, to get people ready.
Yeah, get as many people on board.
Yeah, because with Mass Effect, it fits so perfectly of having choices that sometimes, like, there's no good choice, but you have to make one of them, and you pick the one that is going to hurt you the less or the least. So it would be great, and it would be a style of. If you've ever heard of the Total War series,
Tucker, we've had this goddamn discussion.
Probably. I can't even remember what I had for lunch.
We talked about Total War for like 10 minutes.
I also don't know what gets recorded and what doesn't.
Yeah. Actually, in all fairness, I believe I cut that because you started talking about really dumb games and wouldn't shut up, and I didn't cut you off.
So talking about really dumb games and stuff I wouldn't shut up about. So the Total War series is an RTS that is both like city building, where it is turn-based.
It's got a 4X combination of
real time
and then
turn-based.
You go into battles and it becomes an RTS battle.
And I think that would be so perfect for Mass Effect. You could have ship combat that way, and you could even have some ships that would be carrying your soldiers that you have to land on planets and move them around as pieces on a board, because this is the Milky Way galaxy. You're not setting up a base on a planet like quickly right there. This is the entire galaxy you gotta look at. You don't have time for that type of micromanage.
Yeah. So in your game, you're doing the galaxy. Brandon is just doing Earth, but the same concept could still exist.
Yeah,
Earth's
I mean
big.
that is a much smaller concept that could be focused a lot more. That could allow a lot more of the Halo Wars aspect that he was talking about, where you build quick bases here and there, which would really help with how Mass Effect 3 you're on the defensive, you're being invaded, so quickly setting up a base in a town so you could evac civilians and provide medical assistance, and you're just quickly setting up a base to call in soldiers and so on.
And that base is eventually going to be overrun, basically, on Earth, because they can't hold on to anything. They just got to hit and run.
That would be a very interesting idea for it. That would be
if you're doing an RTS, what kind of units are you going to have in the game? Because one thing that Mass Effect universe doesn't get into is
vehicles.
How many vehicles do they actually show? There are almost none.
Yeah,
almost
not really.
none.
And in fact, when I was coming up with designs and stuff for it, when I was looking through, they're all just variations of the Mako for the most part.
Almost
I had to
exclusively.
go to like their concept arts and stuff like that to start getting other ideas. But you can always just add more to it.
You would really have to come up with a complex array of vehicles
there could
and
be
support
helicopter base things because they do have ships that will land soldiers and stuff like that, but they absolutely
that
have
troop
to have
transport
some sort
did
of,
not change at all.
Well, they have to have some sort of airborne troop transport for just the planets that they're on. Like that has to exist of some type. Like
it does in the actual trilogy, and you end up taking that. It's not that. Oh man, now I can't even fucking remember it. Everyone knows it looks like a weird box. They're all over the invasion in Mass Effect 3 when you head back to Earth.
You could use those, and you could have slight variations. Some that are transport based, some that are assault attack based, because that would fit the Mass Effect theme of you. And this could also help with some of the choice. You could instead have it be chassis for certain types of vehicles, and then have to choose like, okay, we're going to build 5 Makos. 2 of them will be built with extra shielding or protection or have a thicker layer or a hull. And this one will be like a troop transport one. These other ones will be lighter but have more firepower and stuff so you'd have to make choices that way. And that suddenly doesn't add 15 new vehicles to the canon, but
they're different.
It just allows of other variations, which also helps with we're on our back feet. We gotta work with what we got to make it work, and all your choices matter. You got
Still,
enough
for
a
good
Makos.
RTS, you generally need a decent array of units.
Yeah.
And that would be the one issue I think you'd have a problem with.
Potentially, if you have other races, I mean, you have the Asari, which can...
Yeah. If you're just on Earth, that might be rough. If you're all over the galaxy, that's a little bit different.
I mean, humans. Well, you just have different roles that they would spawn in. You would have the commander.
A total of 5 base land vehicles. Actually, 4 land vehicles. Only 3 of them you get to drive, and one of them never existed in the Milky Way universe.
Oof.
The Kodiak drop shuttle is one I'm thinking of.
Okay,
but the only 2 that matter is the Mako and the Hammerhead, and that's it. There's also a Grizzly, which is always a busted-ass vehicle in Mass Effect 1 that you drive by.
Yeah, that's the one on Ilum or something, right?
You're thinking of Ilium, and no, this is a Mass Effect. I think these are only Mass Effect 1, and you never see them moving.
Because there's...
Novaria is what I'm thinking of.
Oh, right, that's the name of the snow planet.
Yeah.
What was Ilium? What's that one?
Ilium's
My mind is
Asari, semi-sleazy...
Right.
Out of the
where you find Liara in Mass
rules,
Effect 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while since I played Mass Effect and
you know what? They have vehicles in that. Those little skip shuttles, and I'm not...
Well, yeah, but you're not going to ride that in a combat. You could...
But if you have to.
Yeah, but I mean...
What are you going to do with it?
You're going to grab a bike next when you run out of those? You're going to expect them to roll in on a trike?
Be hilarious. Anyway, that would be the issue I would think there. I want to get to as many of these as possible. Related to that, I think going into XCOM, the actual style of XCOM combat
Yeah,
would be phenomenal for a Mass Effect setting.
That would absolutely fit it too.
Where you put together a squad and you get yourself a Krogan and an Asari and a Quarian, and they have combos that match up together and you move them
when
one
they
at a
die,
time.
they're dead.
You could have that, but the one thing you definitely need, and you need character-driven stories. And that can absolutely work with an RTS. We've seen it work with an RTS.
And with XCOM, the way you can even do it is if like you level up characters by bringing them on missions, and when you get characters to certain missions, that will unlock like side missions for those characters where you could unlock like a special weapon for them or special armor or a special skill slot or something like that. And that is how they could even do like some loyalty based missions.
Yeah, it could work. It could definitely work. I think out of all the options for games, that these kind of games are the most far-fetched.
Why far-fetched, do you think?
As far as what's coming up next?
I feel like the combat
sure.
system, the mechanics for that, although not what we're used to, it would just fit it so well.
If you're doing a Mass Effect RTS as the next Mass Effect game, you're going to piss everyone off.
Well,
you need to completely rebuild the franchise up with the same kind of thing.
Well, I mean, right now where we are, like, yes, the next Mass Effect has to be Mass Effect 4. Like, it has to
eventually,
be that.
You could get one of these games, but now...
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, when we're designing this, I'm just thinking of the world of Mass Effect, and then how could we take that world and put it into this style of game? Like, that's what I was thinking of with XCOM and stuff like that, of the world just fits it beautifully, of those different races that you could have to build up your squad and so on.
I think
it'd be great.
The other thing to get out of this is we both think that you should play XCOM.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Great game. And
the most recent
I mean,
ones.
with doing zero research into this right now, but pretty confident with how I'm saying this. We talked about both RTSs and XCOM. I'm confident in saying that there's probably mods for those games where they can change your characters to look like Mass Effects.
It's very possible.
Absolutely.
The most recent XCOM thing was exploring different aliens with different abilities that you have a squad controlling all of them. So,
I mean, I didn't know there was XCOM, and then there's XCOM 2, but this is also, the recent ones are a remake of XCOM from the 90s, I think. But then there's also, with the recent ones, XCOM Enemy Unknown. And XCOM 2 was kind of not, like, as good.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, it has the concern of it doesn't really match the ending of the first one because
it's an alternate. It's an alternate future version where you lose,
which would be that whole like with Mass Effect thing too of like changing the ending or potentially
the game I'm
endings.
thinking of specifically is Chimera Squad, which just came out this year.
I think,
which is it's just kind of an experimental version of it.
Oh yeah, that kind of. I saw the trailer for that, and that's all I ever wanted to see of it.
Yeah,
I forgot it came out.
I read the review and I'm like, I don't know if I want to play because basically the combat, they were experimenting with the combat and I didn't like the ideas they had, so I didn't actually end up playing it.
It looked too goofy for me. Like the thing I liked with the XCOM was it was more grounded in realism. It was sci-fi, absolutely, but it was kind of grounded in this realistic idea of it. And the trailer for that, it seemed more like it was a goofy buddy cop kind of thing, if I'm recalling the trailer correctly. And it just kind of turned me off of it.
Yeah, it was an experimental thing, and I think they were playing with stuff.
Same thing with Battlefield 5. Like the trailer, same thing with the trailer with that. It was too kind of goofy with the way the characters were interacting with each other. That just kind of initially turned me off with it.
If you support Battlefield 5, I want to see it in the comments section.
I like that game. I
know.
Played it.
I just don't think there's a lot of crossover.
And I liked it.
Okay, I want to get back to Mass Effect because we got a number of more ideas to go.
Sure.
So Jeff writes in with a what if package featuring 3 short games, and each of them is based off an ending of Mass Effect 3. By the way, if you wrote something in, I'm basically going to paraphrase what you're saying. And I apologize for that. That's just the way I read. So if I get something wrong, it's on me. I write out a full script, and I never actually read the script. I just paraphrase what I wrote.
Is that all? Is that essentially all it is? Is a what
no,
if?
he goes into each of them. All right, so
but does he go into the mechanics of like how would
why don't
this game be
why
done?
don't you let me read what he wrote and then you have your questions answered?
Fair.
So Control casts Shepard 2.0 as the villain. Shepard kills anyone who doesn't agree with his or her way of maintaining order in the galaxy. People rise up against this oppressive protector person. Playable characters could include male and female Mass Effect trilogy veterans like Garrus and Liara. That would be, and there could be some very, very emotional dialogue. Let's say if you have a former love interest confronting that Shepard, that would be the first of the what if.
Okay.
Synthesis doesn't create the techno-organic paradise it was meant to. It turns organic people into soulless creatures who lean heavily on logic to the point where they ignore compassion and adopt a binary decision-making process. Meanwhile, synthetic beings are driven insane by the influx of emotion of organic beings. So this game,
husks.
this game would be about a very few amount of organics and synthetics that are still separate and weren't transformed, trying to find a way to reverse the synthesis in the galaxy. And Destroy would focus on an unintended consequence of destroying the Reapers, which is a power vacuum where the Leviathan species comes in and fills. And since the Reapers are no longer there to stop them, the Leviathan species basically gets to reassert their dominance over the galaxy.
Okay, but did he say at all of how the game would play? Not the story
These are
of it,
all-
but how it would play.
These are all gonna. No one did that because they're all gonna play the way that the Mass Effect games play.
Because this would be great as a Telltale style game. Because mechanic-wise, that would take decades to make 3 entire like Mass Effect, not trilogy-wise, but like Mass Effect style games with those different endings. That would take a while.
Yeah,
but if
I want to play
like
these games, but
Telltale style games where it was more like just like kind of focusing more on the choice and less on the gameplay, kind of just keeping like a story-based one, I think that would be pretty fun.
that would be basically the only way you could do it if it was only story gameplay. Because it's just there's too many different. You're right about how long it would take. There's just too much to do for a single game.
What was that thing? Because Mass Effect 1 didn't initially come out on the PlayStation. So when Mass Effect 2 came out, they released a like Mass Effect 1 short comic on the PlayStation.
Interactive comic, which was fantastic.
Was that like I never played that. Was that kind of like a Telltale game in the sense of it, or was it just base decisions?
The answer was yes and no. There were no QuickTime events.
Okay.
They were just and it was mostly storytelling.
But something
and then
like
you would
that,
make a major decision
with the 3 of those, but more fleshed out in like
it would need
with some more
be
gameplay.
way more decisions and stuff for that to work for that.
Yeah. But it would also be longer than 5 minutes. I mean, it would be a full game of it, and it could be an anthology series, kind of like the Dark trilogy that is currently going on with Man of Medan and Little Hope and whatever that third one is coming out. It could be something like that.
One other issue.
You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
Not at all.
Oof.
And I don't actually care for you to explain it.
Oof.
What? We're on a topic. Stop trying to get us off the topic. Why do you keep on doing that?
Because I'm
This
a
is a
professional
great
at
topic.
it.
This is
It
a
is.
great topic.
It is. I'm having a field day with it.
So the other issue, and this is from a business standpoint, in order to get this game, you would have absolutely had to play Mass Effect 3. And that's a really rough thing because you always want to open up your game to a new audience jumping in.
Yeah.
So it
definitely
really
relies
weird.
a lot on knowing the events of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. If like, especially if some of them are bringing in certain characters, they're obviously going to reference events that have been going on. There's a lot of build-up that you're going to need going into it. So that would make it a little difficult too.
All right, so 14 writes something in, and I'm going to have a hard time with this one, but it's basically a long pitch for Mass Effect Andromeda 2. Because he wants a sequel to Andromeda, and this is important, and this is something everyone wants in a Mass Effect game, and I don't know if they're going to do it, but I think this would be very pleasing. You have the option to play Asari, Turian, Solarian, I guess Angara in this case, Quarians, or Drell. This game specifically would not be that long after Andromeda. The Ryder twins might still be around, but they wouldn't be the protagonists of the game. You'd get to choose. And the second part of his pitch, which is basically the main pitch itself, he wants this game to revolve around untangling the Jardan, which is the species that created all the obelisks, and this is exactly what the first game should have been.
Yeah,
the first game should have been actually unraveling these things. Is the race of what's considered AIs to create Angara.
Andromeda did have the perfect opportunity to allow other species to be chosen to as the main one that you want to do. Like I can absolutely understand why the trilogy. I mean, obviously not with Mass Effect 2 and 3, like because you couldn't really change Shepard. You couldn't really make him an Asari suddenly. That'd be kind of weird.
They kind of successfully did that with Dragon Age Inquisition. But you had 4 different people voicing the protagonists, and they could play different races.
Well, I mean, like if Shepard was a human in the first game, and then suddenly you check up on him and he's a Volus, and you're like, "Whoa, hold up."
It would not have worked in the trilogy. Yeah, I'm going to go back to 14's pitch because we're not even into it. So basically, he thinks the Jardan were a race of AIs who created the Angara as a form of organic hardware in response to the Surge, which also is never explained. More specifically, he thinks that the Angara, the way they use electrical arcs, reminds them of the Geth. So here's what we know. The Geth knew the Reapers were coming. The Geth had a telescope made of multiple mass relays that they were able to gather information in the Helios cluster. This is all true.
Yeah.
The Angara and Vulse did not exist when this relay was first used, but the planets in question had already been terraformed. The remnant tech is specifically referred to as a less advanced than Prothean tech, even though Meridian, the world at the end, is more advanced than anything we know the Protheans building. So the theory is an unknown Andromeda race created Meridian and sent it to terraform the Helios cluster. Some number of Geth programs upload themselves through the mass relay telescope to Meridian, but they're no longer part of the Geth, so they call themselves the Jardan. And they build all this stuff.
I feel like this was an actual theory. That
I feel like this should have been in the game anyway.
I feel like I've heard this. Maybe it was...
You very well might have heard this.
It's really well thought out and everything like that. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of it. It's like...
The description box is not long enough to post all these, even though I kind of want to. Because the Scourge is attracted to the Jardan's tech, the Jardan have to create the Angara and upload themselves to organic bodies.
Do you know what will have space? The video where you could put the text.
I'm absolutely not doing that because you know how long it takes to do that. The whole point of doing a podcast is it's not going to take me 20 hours of video.
Fair.
I'll think of something. I will think of something. Maybe in the comments section, I will post each of these in the comments section.
That could work too.
So there'll be ridiculously long comments, and you'll be able to see all any grammatical error in there. You'll be able to see, and you'll also be able to see how I skimmed over these because that's how I end up doing all this stuff. But basically, this is what Mass Effect Andromeda did is they asked a bunch of questions and set up a bunch of things and never answered them. And 14 wants these questions answered, and he's given a story pitch on it.
Although it wasn't their idea to leave these unanswered.
Are you? Because they meant to do it in DLC, I think.
Yeah, well, maybe not specific. Maybe the Jardan, but there was definitely some things that were 100% DLC.
Absolutely terrible idea, and one of the reasons why this didn't go so well. Yeah. This would be another podcast to get into later. So this is another Mass Effect 2 Andromeda 2 one from Evan. Mass Effect Andromeda 2 could be set 2 years after 1 and would follow Ryder and the crew for the prologue. And the first hour is playing your imported Ryder following up with any romances and giving players a look at what your endgame character is. But the crew of the Tempest suddenly goes missing during a routine mission, and that's when your character creator pops up. Evan also wants you to be able to play any other race in the galaxy. This is very, very common in this. And then it goes on for trying to rescue the Tempest, the crew of the Tempest, and finding them.
Okay.
So that is a start. That is a start for the Andromeda thing.
So it's still like Andromeda 2, but now
it is
like you're
very much
finding
Andromeda 2, but you are playing a new character to start. You're not.
You know, if some of the crew, like the Tempest, went missing, I honestly think some of the people in the community just might not finish that mission.
It's true.
I liked them. I liked PB and stuff like that. I enjoyed.
Yeah, and I you know what? I would not find PB. I wouldn't care.
I liked PB.
I didn't. She was my least favorite character out of all the Mass Effect characters.
It was I mean, I also like I'm a sucker for these. Sorry, like they're my go-to romance just because I'm one of those plebs. But like, I mean, the trilogy had better squad mates than Andromeda, but I still enjoyed the Andromeda squad mates. I still had some fun with them.
No, some of them were fun. PB specifically.
Yeah,
PB got to me.
That's
because
fair.
She
really
was
fair,
fucking
honestly.
nuts, and she did dumb shit without asking you. And her loyalty mission.
That's kind of. I mean, that's where I had some fun too. Is her just doing like dopey shit.
So you're a kindred spirit because you do dumb shit that bothers me all the time.
I know, like spam you with pictures of puppies.
You've had a lot of pictures of puppies. Actually,
they're adorable.
You've been interrupting our Dragon Age chat, which you and I have no part in. And then there'll be like 50 consecutive posts about Dragon Age, and then you post some puppies, and that's what it is. And that's all you have to contribute, and I have absolutely nothing to contribute.
To be fair, there's like 2 chats that we're in with that group, and I know one of them's Dragon Age, and I don't know what the other one's for. That's the one I've been trying to put. Oh, okay. I've just been putting puppies
basically,
wherever.
yeah.
Because, I mean, how could you have a bad day when you have puppies looking at you?
So here's something that I want to tangent about, but it's completely related to what we're talking about.
We're swapping roles here.
This isn't a real tangent. This is completely related to an Andromeda sequel. So I sent out a post right after they announced they were doing. By the way, they are doing another Mass Effect game. We're not just bullshitting and speculating. Yeah. That's a real thing. They announced it.
We just don't know.
I'm not 100%.
Like, we don't even know if it is Andromeda 2 or like.
I asked what kind of Mass Effect game would people prefer, and I gave them 4 options because Twitter only allows 4, which is actually probably a good thing because you can go on forever. So, option 1, and you can answer this question, then we'll go over it. Here are your 4 options. You have an Andromeda sequel, something in the pre-trilogy Milky Way, something in the post-Mass Effect 3 Milky Way, or some kind of time reset or semi-reboot.
Wasn't this like the entire conversation of that Mass Effect, like when we did the Andromeda Nerds special podcast? Was that poll?
That's when I first brought it up, yeah.
What was my choice then? I'll pick a different one.
I don't remember.
That's fair.
I believe you went into a Mass Effect RTS and I got pissed.
Yeah, probably.
By the way, the most popular option out of those...
I think I picked Andromeda 2, and that is what I would prefer, because I just feel like doing something in the Milky Way universe, it will be a lot more difficult than doing in Andromeda 2. While Andromeda itself wasn't good, there's still so much potential to grow from it that Andromeda 1 could lay a groundwork for Andromeda 2, which could be much better.
So if the goal is to resurrect the Mass Effect franchise, I think you're going to have a very, very, very difficult time pitching Mass Effect Andromeda 2.
I mean, if you're also restarting it, I don't even know if you could do a Mass Effect 4, because that would also rely, like, it couldn't be, like...
There are some options to get there. One of those is you set it way out in advance and have a different major event converge everything, and then you look back to the past and no one's really sure what happened, but they know something happened, so you referred to it. I'll get to the other ones. The other one
that's actually a pretty sleek idea.
That was the very, very first idea, which is I think from Grandmaster Chris and Biofan had something like that, and I was
just
thinking
like the way
something
that
like
was worded of like they can refer it as this unknown event. I'm like, ooh, that's sleek. I like that.
So the other options, and these are on me, and some of these people will get into it. What about something where you start out? Let's say you're either in between Mass Effect 1 and 2 or before Mass Effect 1, but you're a character, you find out the Reapers are coming, you fucking panic, so you try some crazy experimental technology that completely breaks the timeline. And then it restarts it.
I mean, that sounds like a fun concept. You can get a lot of fun, wild ideas with that. But how well does that sit within the universe of Mass Effect?
Well, here's something related on this. So Sam has this idea, and I was like, I love this idea so much. I don't think it could work, but I love it so much. So the idea is, this is from Sam, the idea is alternate history. The game starts where Mass Effect 1 started. However, the main difference is that the Genophage never existed, so a large portion of the galaxy is controlled by the Krogan Empire. The Citadel and its protected planets are currently at an uneasy ceasefire with the Krogans. Different species and planets have chosen sides based on their own interest in protection. For instance, the Geth and Batarians will have sided with the Krogan, while Asari Turians side with the Citadel. And the humans are still conflicted, basically.
It sounds like typical humans.
The player, or whether it's Shepard or a new protagonist, will need to choose a side or try to unite the galaxy. By the way, the Reapers do not exist in this scenario. They were defeated by the Protheans.
Wait, what was that?
The Reapers don't exist in this scenario.
Oh, so they were beaten by the Protheans. But if they were beaten by the Protheans, would the Protheans still exist then?
You could say that the way the Protheans eventually beat them was by locking them out of the galaxy, but it was the same thing that they had on Ilos with the last couple guys. Sam does not specifically get into this.
Yeah, because if the Protheans won, then
they should be around, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and not just that, but they wouldn't let the Krogans be in power. They would still remain as powers.
I believe in this scenario. I believe in this scenario, the Protheans won with their dying breath.
Okay, so it was a Pyrrhic victory.
Because otherwise this doesn't work.
So it was a Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah, it was like they won, but not really.
Yeah.
In fact, no, here it is. The Reapers were defeated by the Protheans, but not soon enough for the Protheans to go extinct.
Okay.
Not go extinct. So anyway, this would also allow you to see old characters like Saren, Captain Anderson, Rex, and the Collectors in a new light. Although I don't think the Collectors would exist in this scenario. Anyway, that is something
would the Citadel still be around though? Because the Keepers were keeping it up and running.
In Sam's particular alternate history, it does, but it might make more sense for it not to be there. But anyway, it would basically be, and one way you could get to this alternate history is what I said, where you have someone fuck around with the timeline and break it. And while the Reapers are no longer a threat, something else is really wrong, and they have to deal with that. And that's kind of a semi-reboot that allows the Mass Effect trilogy to exist, but allows you to still play around in the Mass Effect universe. I would not choose that as my number one thing, but I also like the idea.
I like that. That does sound. It's a fun idea. It just kind of feels like that is a community wants to hold on to these characters that we love and these locations that we love, and just wants a different story with those pieces, and that's fine. But it's really hard to package that as a game to sell it. To like,
I would agree with you.
Just because
I think that
people might feel like that's
very,
cheap.
very specifically to me.
Yeah, and it seems fun, and it would definitely sell to some of the more hardcore fans who get these characters and see in another light. But it's just, it'd be a bit of a hard sell to others that feel like they're just reusing assets
this new game is in a ridiculously difficult spot.
It really
That's why I'm
is.
surprised they're trying the idea behind Andromeda, where you leave before the Reapers actually get there, made the most sense. They just didn't execute the idea properly.
Yeah. They had the spirit.
That's why they're in a tough spot. I still answering some of those questions, like going back to all of 14 stuff.
I mean, it could take place before
that
Mass Effect 1.
all should have been in the first game.
The First Contact War, but the First Contact War was mainly ships. There wasn't much.
It was mainly ships. There was one ground planet that was like a guerrilla style war. Be a very, very small story.
Yeah, it would. And
yeah,
that wouldn't be
and it's
a good
also
thing
is a small contract or not much contact really. It wasn't like massive ships going to massive ships. They stopped before they really went to war.
Yeah.
But
they're in a situation.
Maybe the best way for them to do it is to set something before the Reapers show up and have it complete before the Reapers show up and have it be separate. But that's still difficult.
Because
there's
you
just
have
such a
to
rough
make it make
situation.
sense within that universe already. That is a choice universe. Like, yeah.
This might be a very long podcast.
I'm sure the people listening to that will enjoy that.
It's fine. Perfectly fine. All right. Dave writes in, he wants a sequel to Mass Effect 3. And the game should import all of your trilogy decisions and have them referenced throughout in a meaningful way. No matter which Mass Effect 3 ending was chosen, the writing could turn everything into a form of the control ending, which I think actually kind of contradicts the meaningful way thing. That could get into an issue, but basically you could have Shepard will either be linked up or resurrected by the Catalyst. Yes, resurrected again. From having the Reaper tech download into his consciousness or her consciousness and do their version, the Lazarus. But basically, after locating Joker in the Normandy, your goal is to try to reconnect the galaxy since you see isolation is causing problems. However, some people view you as a hero and others see you as a villain by now being wirelessly synced to the Reapers/Catalysts. This makes you the morally gray character in this time instead of the elusive man. So, like,
putting you in the position of the...
You may not really be the good guy in this.
That's always a fun thing to play around with.
Basically, I'm going to jump through this a little bit. You've tasted the Reaper's godlike status and kind of are corrupted with the god complex, which makes more of a internal struggle and higher stakes than a Paragon Renegade. But basically, it also gives you a whole bunch of new powers and stuff. But also, this game uncovers more lore and the truth behind previous cycles, which I would like in any game, like the Anusanon and the Leviathan, and they can really reveal the big bad as them as who want revenge on the Reapers, which includes you.
Honestly, out of a lot of the like post Mass Effect 3 games, that one sounds the most plausible in a sense, except just for the like it still has to do with the ending.
Yep.
And that is such a difficult thing
it's
because
so hard,
literally the choices
I agree with
change
both things
galaxy.
you said. Yeah,
Like,
it seems like the most plausible, but then you kind of brushed over it.
Yeah, like
The
it
full
seems the most
description-
plausible, but you brushed over the huge elephant in the room.
I'm slightly afraid that I did not give Dave's pitch justice. Look to the comments section for the answers to these. And I'll try to have all of them in the comment section on.
Just copy paste.
And then you can copy paste it there. Dave also wants to know: would you like to see a Mass Effect game structured like Detroit Become Human in terms of choices?
There's that game you said that.
So
we
you
were gonna
played that
talk
game,
about.
right? The game actually that in our first era of Accidentally Casual, everyone wanted us to play, and you and Seek were real excited about, and I absolutely refused to play. Absolutely refused to play it. I'm never going to play it. It's not happening.
Yeah, that's the thing you reminded me of right before we started recording.
I hate QTE events. I hate them. I hate them, man. I really don't like them.
You don't think? Never mind. That pun wouldn't work.
Can you expand on Mass Effect game like that Dave says with Detroit? What does Detroit Become Human have in terms of choices that's very different? If anything?
I mean, characters living and dying. There's you can make choices early on in the game that kill off a character and just completely cuts off their entire story. Like, they have full-fledged hours and hours of long gameplay.
That you could miss?
And, yeah, because you make a choice, character's dead, and character's dead.
Yeah, so it was done by the guys who did Heavy Rain, and that's supposed to be like that too.
Yeah.
But I can't. I've tried multiple times to play QTE games. I can't do it. I can't handle it.
Different strokes for different folks, and
if you're into it, awesome. A lot of people love those Telltale games. Fantastic. I'm glad you have a game series you like.
Wait, The Walking Dead. Did you play?
I'm
The
also
Walking
glad
Dead?
I don't. Of course I didn't. What have you been listening to? I hate those fucking games. I hate
The
them.
Walking Dead. At least the first season of that is such a good story. I cried manly tears at the end of that game.
I could not play it. I could not play it. I
If anyone
tried.
says that they didn't cry at the ending of that, you are lying to myself and to yourself.
All right, I didn't get to the ending, so does that count for me not crying?
Well, I mean, that's where you're supposed to cry.
Yeah, I couldn't get more than 5 minutes into it.
So yeah, you didn't.
So I didn't cry. You know what? I cried on the inside because I didn't want to play this fucking game.
Oof.
I hate QTE event. A series I would have really, really liked is the God of War series, and I couldn't play that because of the QTE events. Couldn't do it.
Even the most recent one?
The most recent one has 0 QTE events.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But
well,
I did not play it for a very, very long time.
It has some, but very limited.
Had almost
very
none.
limited.
Not in the same way.
Yeah.
But I didn't play it for years because I was still traumatized.
So what specifically QTE events do you not like?
I do not like having buttons pop up and saying press this random button for this action, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with that action.
What do you mean it has nothing to do with? Like, if you
All
have
right, so press
4 things to say.
No, that's different. That's just a choice dialogue. That's fine.
Because that's 95% of Telltale games.
You're in a struggle. I want you to mash on this button that's a random button that has nothing. Oh, no, mash on this different button that has nothing to do with anything. Oh, no. I hate that shit. I hate it.
I
absolutely hate it. Then hit things in a pattern. There's a cutscene. Hit a pattern of buttons that aren't related to anything. I don't want to do that.
I mean, yeah, the Telltale games got some of that, but
no, and
damn,
that's all it takes.
The first Walking Dead is like award-winning.
Good. It gets my award for the game I least want to play.
The story for Lee and Clementine is so goddamn adorable, and my god.
So, would you like to see a Mass Effect style game like that?
Yeah, I mean that ties into that What If one, the 3 in anthology.
In your pitch for the anthology, making that work. That would be the first Mass Effect game I'd have.
That was
no
someone else that
playing.
pitched the anthology thing. I just provided the mechanics for his story.
Yeah, I would never play a game with you. I can't do it. I just can't do it. So that would really bum me out.
So, out of curiosity, then, would you watch like a recap? Maybe not even like a recap thing, but just like a thing of the story of the first season of Walking Dead or things like that.
I also think zombies are ridiculously stupid, so I don't care about zombies. So that's the second one. No, we'll get into this later. Zombies are really boring to me.
The thing about The Walking Dead, something I've noticed with The Walking Dead more than other zombie games is The Walking Dead doesn't care about the zombies. The zombies are never the thing in The Walking Dead. It's the humans.
We will get. You know what? This is a good topic for another show.
Yeah.
Fold that in there. I will get into my issues with zombies and end of the world event type games. But anyway, we'll get into that later. So put a pin in that. By the way, if you have a question or topic suggestion, you can email us at accidentallycasual@gmail.com. That's right.
Yes.
I'm trying to see how much silence we could go to. I'm probably going to do it.
I thought you were going to... I was waiting for you to continue. Because
I know you were.
What am I going to reply with? Waiting for... I am staring at the eyes of this wooden frog thing that belonged to my grandma.
I fucking should have kept on going.
It was like her glasses holder, and it's this big frog thing. You're supposed to just put your glasses on his eyes, and then it looks like the little frog he has his glasses on. My grandma liked frogs. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm staring at it while I'm waiting for you to, like, continue on with the next pitch, because I don't know what you're talking about. Emails.
Okay.
Look at the froggy.
This next one's from Scott from BioWare Babbling. So Scott only really sees 3 options for BioWare to go
I
to
recognize
for the next.
that.
He only sees 3 options. So the first is a prequel, the second is Andromeda 2, and the third is a sequel to the original trilogy. So he has a small pitch for each 3.
Is there anything unique with them? Because we've like
Why don't I read this and then we'll get into.
yeah.
I love how you're like.
I'm trying
so the
to
prequel,
conversate.
I know. I'm making it really, really hard on you this time, and I'm so
you're not.
happy about that.
Dude, I'm in such a happy mood right now.
Okay.
There's so many things that happened today that
an
slapped.
anthology series of historical events through the Mass Effect universe. There would be a few missions of the Morning War, Arachnid War, Krogan Rebellions, and so on.
Okay.
Andromeda 2 would take
So
a few...
wait. So you would
Actually, you wanna
be
jump into
all
that?
the way back in the Krogan War, the Krogan
The-
Rebellion.
Yeah,
So-
it goes all the way back to the Krogan Rebellions. Well, Krogan Rebellions are after the Arachnid War. The Arachnid War is the oldest one in that.
A way that one could work, you play maybe as a historian that is going through and finding like all those information with all that stuff, and that when you're learning with those different wars,
Then you
gameplay
jump
of
into
that
gameplay.
yeah jumps into gameplay where it could maybe be a short anthology or something like that of different ways that you're building it, but like
might
that's
be
how
a little
you could
bit
have
rough.
it, but that's how you could possibly have it
Yeah.
jump from the rebellion to the Arachnid War to the First Contact War and all these different wars that take place in such a long span of time.
Has there ever been an anthology like series game where it just jumps like that many years?
There are anthology series like the Dark Pictures, Man of Medan, stuff like that. That I was just talking about. It's a horror story that are different. Kind of like Telltale. They are story-based games. They have QTEs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's why I'm never going to play it.
But they all have different things of it. The first one, Man of Medan, is a horror story based on a ghost ship.
So you're going into too much detail.
Yeah. Well,
you
Little
gotta-
Hope,
you
the
gotta-
newest one, is like Silent Hill-ish.
But
kind of like-
it's talking about one specific game that does that. Like no, literally one title at once.
It is one time. It is. Well.
No, I mean like one release.
Hmm.
It's that sounds very, very difficult. I think if you're going to do that, you would focus on one of those Morning War, Arachnid War, Krogan Rebellions, First Contact War, whatever's in there. It'd be hard to do all of them or more than one.
I'm trying to think of besides the Dark Pictures, have there been anthology games?
Put it in the back of your mind. If you think of it, interrupt me with what you got, and then I'll cut you off.
Sounds like my usual MO.
It sounds like, yeah, it was. I'm giving you permission to do it. You were going to do it anyway.
Well, if I have permission, now it's not as fun. It's like that penguin. Now I don't want to do it.
All right, good. Andromeda 2 would take place a few years after Mass Effect Andromeda and have it be the Helios Cluster versus the Ket Empire, and you get another cluster to fight against them.
What happened to the cat after, we killed the Archon?
I don't know.
Did it?
The Archon was kind of doing his own thing. So the Ket, you don't know how widespread the Ket are, and it's just a contingent of Ket in the Helios cluster. So you can't really say what the rest of them are doing. You can go in all kinds of directions there. All right, the original trilogy sequel. Tucker, you still there?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good. You got me. Nice.
What do you mean I got you? I'm. It's called waiting.
I wasn't sure if you got dropped off. I'm gonna have to cut this
No.
out. It happens. It's the internet. The original trilogy sequel. Either you'll boil the endings down of the original trilogy to the point where they are meaningless.
Make the indoctrination theory the real thing. Just get rid of the endings that way. Shepard
Yeah.
wakes up in the rubble in the beginning of Mass Effect 3. Anderson's
you'd
right
have to-
there helping you up.
What he's saying is for an original trilogy sequel, either you boil the endings down to the point where they are meaningless, which I think would make people angrier somehow. There's so hard to do this. Or you make 4 separate games with the full implications of each ending, which was kind of pitched before.
Yeah,
Also,
and that-
also rough. Or you
that would also end
decanonize
up being
an
a
ending,
telltale way as well.
or you decanonize an ending like BioWare kind of did with Dragon Age Origins. One thing he does get to, he would like to see the Leviathans be the next villains. I think the Leviathans would make great villains. I really didn't like them. They were assholes.
Were they? Because I just kind of poked them
No.
once, and then
They were total assholes. They were basically the Reapers, but even bigger dicks.
I mean, yeah, I remember that part, but they also just kind of chilled. Like they were just.
Is that what they were doing while they were controlling people to be their slaves?
Well, I mean, post that.
Yeah,
When,
post that.
When
That's
there
'cause
was
they
like
were
only
buried
3 of them
underground.
remaining. I don't know how many Leviathan. Like there was that one that we talked to.
I guess there should be more than 3.
Well, maybe 4.
But it would
But-
suck if they were overlords, because basically they would just have everyone be slaves. So they make great villains.
Yeah. And I did like the idea that the other person mentioned as well, like that power vacuum, because that is a real thing where you take out this big threat or this big leading thing, and that power vacuum that comes from it can cause some immense devastation.
Usually
like,
does.
That's kind of the story with the Total War Shogun 2, with Japan being broken up in all those things and all those different countries vying to be the leader of Japan, or the 3 kingdoms of the more recent one.
All right, so this
Also, Game of
pitch
Thrones.
isn't. This next pitch isn't really a pitch. It's a game idea. Austin goes, "My game idea is quite simple. Bring on a professional writer. Drew Karpyshyn would be perfect.
Oof.
His role in the original Mass Effect was pivotal to its success. So many great TVs and movies first start in books. Although I believe, even though the book was first in Mass Effect, the game was already being developed, so that's not quite there.
The book was first?
The book came out first, yeah.
Fun fact, so did the Halo book.
But those books were only being written because of that.
Yeah,
But
the very first Halo book is almost a
his
one-for-one.
His idea boils down to bringing back Drew Karpyshyn, which, if they could do that, I think that would be the best possible thing they could do. I don't know if that is possible, but that would.
I don't remember which book it is, but I tried to read one Mass Effect book, and the beginning of it just put me off of it so much, because the opening of it just sounded kind of ridiculous of the way that people were talking. I wasn't a fan of that, and was just like, is this going to be the whole book? And just kind of stopped, which is a shame.
Yeah,
but
it's hard to know what you're talking about without you actually knowing which book you're talking about.
I mean, how many? Because it wasn't any of the comics; it was an actual.
He
book
did
of
3
it.
books,
and I think
one of them's a prequel, and the other 2 take place during the trilogy, basically.
I think it was the one that takes place like in between Mass Effect 1 and 2. Maybe, I don't know. I'll have to.
That might have been a little bit rough.
All I remember is like the intro of it. Just really, nah.
Okay.
Nah, it wasn't for me.
I still think my favorite, like, he did Knights of the Old Republic, the first one too, and that would get people excited for a new Mass Effect game. There's no way it wouldn't.
All right.
All right, so afterwards, Austin says, number 1 Tucker fan.
Yeah. Love you.
Psych.
Oh,
Everyone knows Minius is the man.
I take my love back.
Let's see. Jacob doesn't know much about game design, but he wants an Andromeda too. We only got to explore the Helios cluster, and we witnessed a split in Ket culture, so we know they're not completely unified.
Yeah.
But
I really feel like an Andromeda 2 would have to explore the rest of Andromeda. Absolutely. Because there's so little in the area we were in.
Basically, he wants to know what happens with these things. He wants to know what happened to the Dardan, which absolutely should have been in that game. Why were the Angara created? Absolutely should have been in that game.
Yeah.
Andromeda was a start. It needed more. It needed some completion.
Andromeda felt like it was doing the thing that Destiny did. But Destiny is a game as a service. It kind of like World of Warcraft and stuff like that, where you have the world and then you build the DLC off of it. But the Mass Effect series isn't a game as a service. And Andromeda, I mean, they could make a game of service in that manner, but that wasn't what it was. It was an RPG that, like, they were selling it as an RPG game. And it was missing the juicy details.
I believe, and I'll play the latest expansion for Destiny later. We really still don't know what the darkness is.
How well do you know? And I mean, my name's in the fucking credits of that game, and I honestly don't know anything.
Well, you
much
worked
of the
on
story.
Madden, and you could only name one football player, so that's fine.
It's a bit of an embarrassment, all the stuff I've worked on, yet I know so little of the actual thing of it. Because, man, that's the thing. When I worked on Madden and everything like that, I gave that to my nephews because I got an early copy of it, and that psyched out their friends because they were like, oh my god, you got an early copy of it, and all this stuff. But my nephews wanted to play with me, and I learned, and this is someone that's been like playing the game for a while and so on, I learned how to sprint in that game. And I was like, oh, I can sprint. It's this fun. Like, the entire time I've been testing the game, I've never sprinted.
Oh my god.
And it's like, man, there are some
you're making me dislike this even more, man. I haven't played a Madden game in a while. Apparently they haven't changed a whole lot.
A fun thing
which is
with
very hard to do.
With Game Pass, how they've added EA Access onto Game Pass now. I was looking through that recently, and a lot of the sports games are on there, but a game that they added is NHL 94. Like
That's a bitchin' game.
Yeah, that's why they added it, because that was an extremely I just wasn't expecting that. It's also like 300 megabytes. The game is tiny. But
it's got to be smaller than that, right? 300 megabytes.
It was something like that. But I saw that.
I guess if they upgrade to work on normal screens, it might be 300.
And I just thought that was kind of like funny, because you're seeing NHL 19 and NHL 18, like all those, and then NHL 94. I was like, hold up, one of these is not like the other.
All right, so Nicholas has ideas from France. Andromeda Galaxy.
Oui, oui.
10 years after defeating the Archon, Ryder is a hero, a legend. The Ket have retreated,
Why does he
not
get
seen
a cool
for a long
voice?
time.
Why does he
After
get a cool
having
voice on it?
activated Meridian, the Jardin get the signal. The long-gone species has returned to the Helios cluster. The Milky Way species and the cluster's natives have met and decided to share their technologies, proof of their mutual respect and bond cooperation. The Jardin explained to the Milky Way species that the Scourge is in fact what remains of a former Mass Effect relay network that has been destroyed by an enemy. That's at war, or maybe a war within Civil War. It could be, basically it's an enemy, it could be a split Civil War or something like that. Together, they rebuild the Helios Mass Relay Network. The Nexus is completed and makes a perfect replica of the Citadel. They are about to reopen stellar paths to the rest of the Andromeda Galaxy. Homes of tens of new species and a theater of raging war between them, the Ket Empire and more. This is when our new hero gets onto the scene. Again, he wants to be able to play whatever species he wants. That's very, very common in this.
That seems common.
So basically, get into another Mass Effect Andromeda 2.
Well, I like the idea, or something that was interesting with that. It was the Scourge being the remnants of a Mass Effect relay type system, and like that is essentially like the result of it being destroyed. Is there any explanation for what happened like to the Mass Effect relays if we destroy them in Mass Effect 3? Like what?
Yeah, they blow up, dude.
Well, yeah, but I mean, dude, like
you mean what's left over?
Yeah, because they're incredibly powerful. They have to leave some sort of residue or whatever.
The way that would not work, it would work differently. Is when you destroy the mass relay in that Batarian system, the system is just gone.
Well, because you hit a meteor with it,
right?
Like,
but
it's like you set
basically,
off a nuke.
Basically, no, it's not. It's not a nuke. It's a supernova.
Yeah, well,
which
I was
is
going to
so
say
much
a nuke
worse,
the size of a star, but
which basically erases everything in the system. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
So
Because,
the remnants of that
Batarians.
wouldn't be much.
But well, I mean, there's also a difference though, because with the Mass Effect 3 ending, when they're blowing up in a very sequenced manner, in a designated manner. You're not ramming it with an asteroid. They seem blowing up in a way that they are meant to, so it could be a lot more of a controlled explosion, but they would still be leaving behind some sort of residue or something, because science, probably. It's just like all that energy now
I guess
just
so.
Uncontained or whatever.
We really
energy
don't know a lot about how those work.
Yeah.
So even the Protheans just figured it out.
So that's why I feel
basically.
like the Scourge, or like having the explanation of the Scourge being the
I'm still mad
residue
that wasn't explained,
of that.
man.
It's like, that would be
that
kind of
was-
cool. Because they are stringed out. If I recall, they are stringed out throughout the galaxy.
It looks a lot more like out of control nanobots to me. But
So it's maybe they could be like the connection of, if you used it, of like the way that it would go through, but you wouldn't see that because they would be particle size. But now they're quote unquote corrupted in a sense, or whatever the right.
misused or failed technology is a really, really good possibility for that.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I would like that idea with that. And then the idea is getting the Jardan coming back and exploring, because that was another pitfall of Andromeda. There was only, 3 races in total that were added?
There were 3?
Well, the Angara, the Kett, and the Jardan.
Oh, the Jardan aren't actually there, so I didn't consider them, but yeah.
Well, there's a new thing introduced, and it's like going to an entire new system and everything. It's like only 3?
Well, in all fairness, when you look at the Mass Effect universe, or Mass Effect trilogy, you get to skip all around the galaxy. When you're only in a single cluster, usually there's just 1 or 2 species there.
Well, yeah, but, there's still some more expectation.
Because there's a traveling thing, I mean, usually there's only 1 species per cluster. But that, of course, has a more complicated relationship because every 50,000 years they've been wiped out. But when you think of how big a galaxy is, a cluster is relatively small. Actually, ridiculously small.
I'm just still let down with that.
I agree with what you're saying.
Because I wanted to bang like a lot of different types of aliens, and it was only the Angara, and I'm like, well, I got PB.
PB. All right, the last one is a little bit more obscure. Mitchell.
Ooh, okay.
Wants a Mass Effect chess set.
Those exist, buddy.
Do they really?
I believe so. Hold up. Mass Effect chess. It'd be so cool if I learned how to spell chess.
You know how to spell chess?
I know how to spell chess. I very much know how to I've played chess since I like the age of 4.
But you don't know how to spell it.
No, I do. There's 3 S's. Actually, it doesn't exist. There are some 3D printed things. Like, if you have a 3D printer, you can print things for a Mass Effect chess thing. So,
but that's not an official.
No, it's not official.
Yeah, and I don't have I would love one, and I would.
I was thinking of the
use it a
Destiny
couple
chess
times
set, because there is a Destiny chess set that I saw.
So if there are only 2 sides, what sides are what, and what player is what piece?
Let's see.
He has a 3rd set of Cerberus pieces, and that one's easy because you can have the Elusive Man be the king. But
well, you have one side be Reaper and their sort of things, and like the husks would be pawns.
That would work.
You could have, and then like this bigger types be the bishops, the knights,
the Reaper
the
set's
rooks.
a lot. Yeah, the Reaper set's a lot easier.
The Reaper can be the king, and another one could be a queen. And then the other side would just be, the Milky Way galaxy races of it. The front could be Marines. Bishops could be Asari. Krogans could be castles. Turians could be knights.
I suppose I'm more interested in who the
Queen
king and queen are.
Female and male shepherd.
Okay. So we give them distinct gender roles?
Well, I mean,
And
the
that
king and the
female
queen
shepherd
of
just
that.
so much more useful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the queen is a lot more powerful in chess than the king. I mean, yeah, the king
That
got
is
to protect
correct.
him, but his fat ass can only move one square and can honestly do jack shit in the game.
Very
While the
much like a
queen-
king.
The queen is a devastating piece on the board.
Don't lose your queen in chess. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
That's my
I mean,
only
the
piece
king
of chess
can't even
advice.
attack the other king. Literally, they can't get within a square of each other. If like, you can tie a game if you have the kings set in a way where they can't move and they're like pinning
Yep.
off of each other.
So our final comment on this whole thing is from a friend of the show, Babito.
Ooh, Bobito.
Who are you cool, Babito, with us calling you a friend of the show? If you're still even listening at this point.
I hope so.
Anyway, that'll work. Babito does not want a new Mass Effect game at all.
Well, he's gonna feel kind of disheartened when he learns there's a new Mass Effect game coming
No,
out.
he knows that.
Oh.
But I kind of agree with him.
Yeah, I mean, there is always that thing of we want more of the stuff that we love, but there are some times where, like, you know, sometimes it's better just keep it how it is and let
Mass
the companies do something else.
Mass Effect Andromeda would have worked a whole lot better if it wasn't a Mass Effect game.
Yeah, I felt that way
Because-
with some other things as well.
It's just, if you do a Mass Effect game, for instance, we came up with a bunch of different Mass Effect ideas and different things, but there's very specific expectations. So you do a series inspired by Mass Effect, take the things that Mass Effect does well, character created
I mean,
stories,
the gameplay of Andromeda was
dialogue,
fun. I
Yeah.
really liked the
but
mobility
it's more along the lines of
Andromeda.
If it's not a Mass Effect game, you're allowed more creativity than you are if it's just a Mass Effect game. So you want it to be like a spiritual successor to Mass Effect would be the best possible option, in my opinion.
Current my biggest blight with that argument, or not with that argument, but just like agreeing with that, is Assassin's Creed. Like, I've heard some fantastic things of Valhalla, and I'm sure it is an incredible game. But it doesn't feel like that game is an Assassin's game anymore.
What hasn't it really not been since?
Yeah, that's
actually,
what I mean.
guess I haven't
Like,
played much of Origin, but Odyssey.
ever
Odyssey
since
really
they
wasn't.
killed, I feel like when they killed off the recent time or the present time person, Desmond, when they killed him off in Assassin's Creed 3, which is the Revolutionary War one, that maybe just should have been the end of the series. And then the one after that was Black Flag, which I loved Black Flag. But that would have been perfectly fine if it wasn't Assassin's Creed. If it was like this inspired with the mechanics and the gameplay of it, but you weren't really an assassin. And I feel like companies kind of need to grow some balls and cut
the reason,
off that, because it sells, and it makes sense that it sells if people like
sequels
Assassin's
sell
Creed.
So it's proven that sequels sell better than original IPs.
I mean, sure.
There are
Yeah, I can
Asian
actually-
companies that when they come out with a new IP, they put a 2 on the end of it so people think it's a sequel. That has happened.
Sure. But I mean, like, I do get that sometimes the sequels do sell better, but like sometimes like the first one is the one that is more loved. But I can absolutely understand the sequels selling more because it's people who enjoyed the first one, and then those that got excited after hearing about the enjoyment of the first one, wanting to get
It
into
builds.
it. So like
And
that absolutely
also
makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Sequels
you
are
can
almost
say-
always better too because you can improve upon what you've done.
But I think like we're at the point, we're at the point where you can say like the next Assassin's Creed game, if it's not assassins and stuff like that, if it's kind of like Valhalla where it's an open world game with the mechanics of the Assassin series, like just have it be the next game and just be like, hey, this is inspired by the Mass Effect series or the Assassin's Creed series, and we're like, this is the next game. And we're just like, and just have games like that come out. Like if it looks fun, that should be enough to sell people with it. And Valhalla
should be.
looks fun. But
I think
I just don't have
to
time
steer
to get
this
into that
back
one
to
right now.
our conversation, I think the
Hey,
best
I
way to
go
turn
on
BioWare around.
tangents,
I think the best way to shut up.
I do bring it back at points.
No, you. Okay, I'm gonna cut this together again. This is why it takes me so fucking long to do this. I'm trying to talk over you so we can continue the conversation, but you won't shut the fuck up. You just won't shut up. You keep on going.
Yeah.
And every time you do that, you're aware of how long it takes me to edit this shit together. You're not. I'm letting you know, and you don't care.
You could just not edit it out, right?
No. I mean, it's already messed up enough.
Yeah.
And then you get the things where you do this and say, look this up, and then there's dead silence, and it's a joke that doesn't work. And that needs to be cut out.
No, because you didn't get the joke.
No, that Tucker, that happens all the time.
Oh, that's hard.
It happens all the time.
Nah, there are jokes that I make that you'll get.
Yeah, it's very rare. Okay. We need to wrap this up. By the way, so we're recording this early. It's coming out today early. The Game Awards are Thursday. Do you have anything that's got you excited for the Game Awards?
It's embarrassing how little I actually know of the games that are up on the Game Awards. Like,
I never took the Game Awards too seriously, but they are good for reveals and stuff. So if you are a Dragon Age fan, you're getting Dragon Age stuff. For real.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I heard that.
I will not be watching the Game Awards. I will watch the trailers afterwards. I'll be playing Cyberpunk.
I mean, I'll check in on, like, who won what, because there is one where Destiny is being nominated, and a little bit biased, but after working on it, I do hope that they win.
Do you win if they win?
Spiritually.
Okay.
I feel I mean, although I didn't work with the DLC, because I was at Bungie, my last day on Bungie was December 31st, 2019. So, because that was with my contract, so I have nothing to do with Bungie this year. But it's still like, I worked on it, and so I just... And they're being awarded for best ongoing. So.
That's a category? Anyway.
Yep, and
basically these award shows...
They're competing with Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky.
Very good luck with that.
Fortnite would be honestly a solid competitor with them just because of ongoing. I don't feel like Warzone should count with ongoing just because of how.
But they keep on adding gigabytes to your download thing.
Oh my fucking god, they do! But it's also still like a recent game, so I'm not.
I thought it was. I mean, what Destiny itself has basically been the same game since 2014.
Well, I mean,
and that's a gross exaggeration, but the same.
Well, Destiny 2 came out.
Characters. Yeah, I'm aware of that, but it was basically Destiny 1.5.
Well, yeah, but it came out a while ago. While Call of Duty Warzone came out, I think 2000. No, I think Warzone came out in 2020. I think the game came out in 2019, but I don't think it launched with Warzone. I think Warzone was added later. And I heard No Man's Sky did kind of dig itself out of that grave, but I don't
you're
feel
right.
like
Call of Duty Warzone came out in March.
Aha, I do know some things about the video game industry, but I don't feel like No Man's Sky would be able to compete with the other ones in this category. I feel like Fortnite is going to be a big one with it. I just hope that Destiny 2 wins. Apex Legends, I've heard that it's gotten a not niche audience, but its fan base has dropped significantly from when it first came out, and the competitors for Apex Legends is Warzone and Fortnite, which pulled the people away from Apex. So I feel like it would also pull the votes away from it too. That's just my opinion of that, though.
As far as these things go with these games, I never actually care who wins. I just like the reveals.
Yeah.
So that's about it. By the way, if something was revealed, what would cause you to lose your shit? What kind of announcement would cause you to just lose it?
Unravel 3. But
really?
that's not happening. Dude, the Unravel series
Don't. Fuck.
Unravel 3 remaster for like Red Alert 2, because they remastered the first Red Alert one, and I'm just a sucker for Red Alert 2, but that's not going to happen either.
It doesn't have to be realistic.
Fable. The new Fable.
Okay.
They gave it
That
a
would cause you to.
tease.
So that seems reasonable. That would cause you to lose your shit.
Well, I'd be excited.
I think the only thing that would cause me to really lose my shit would finally be a massive Starfield reveal, which will not happen at all.
A what?
Starfield, the new Bethesda game.
Okay, I was thinking of the the space games that already exist that are out right now.
No, the other thing, maybe a Mass Effect Solid remake would get me too.
Do you think they're going to say anything about? No, because if BioWare is talking about Dragon Age, I don't think they'll say anything about Mass Effect because they don't.
Did I say Mass Effect Solid?
You did.
Oh my God.
Metal Gear Solid.
I'm getting tired.
Ooh,
why?
Wait. There was a thing I heard of the potential of Silent Hill, the Hideo Kojima. I heard that might be back in the works in some sense.
Possibly.
I would like that just because I am a sucker for horror. Absolutely love it.
People love that playable trailer.
Yeah. That PT was so successful, and when they took it off the market, that people would sell the PlayStations that still had it on for hundreds of dollars above market because it still had it on. Same thing with phones and Flappy Bird. When that got taken off the market.
I remember that was ridiculous.
And another thing, too,
nuts.
because I'm also looking at best indie games, the developer for Flappy Bird, he hates that game. He hates it. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think he...
Well, he was getting criticism, people claiming that they ruined his life, which
he was getting death because it was made by one guy. And
which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
What do you... I mean... what Flappy Bird is. It's literally tap the screen, it jumps up.
You ruined your own life, dude. Put the game down. It's not the guy's fault.
Okay. Because Flappy Bird's pretty simple in its concept.
No, I'm aware of that. I'm just saying the fact that you're blaming this guy for creating the game and ruining your life means you got your own issues. Figure that out.
Well, I mean, if people have an addiction issue, if they're addicted to the game, they're not... Self-reflection is not in human nature. To be fair, self-reflection is a difficult thing, and a lot of people would rather find something else to blame rather than I have an issue with this game, I play it too much. It's his fault for making this game. Because that's just easier in human nature to throw the blame elsewhere. But even though he was making, dude made bank on it, he's not happy with it.
I think he was making $100,000 a day when he pulled it off.
Something like I think it's back in the store now. I don't know. A bunch of copies spawned from it because of how simple of a game it is. But yeah, the best indie games though are Carry On, which is kind of really cool. I really like the idea behind Carry On, which is you play as a blob monster and you escape through a facility and you just eat the scientists and you destroy everything and you just... Wouldn't
that be carrion?
Yes. Pronunciation is not my forte.
Okay.
There we go.
Carrion is an actual that's like dead meat. That's actually what carrion is.
And then there is Fall Guys. I never played that, but I know it got a cult following.
I had so much fun with that.
Among Us isn't on here, which I thought it would be.
That's because it came out 3 years ago.
Oh, right. Yeah, that yeah. Then the other ones are Hades, which I've never played, didn't hear.
I'm waiting for that to come to a console that I want to play on. It was only on Switch and PC. And I want to play that on a console, but not on Switch.
Then there is Spelunky 2, which Spelunky sounds familiar, but it is not a game I recognize playing. And then the final one on there is Spiritfarer, which sounds cool. I like the picture for it. And it reminds me of a game that just came out, I think today, either today or yesterday, and is on Xbox Game Pass, so anyone that has it, free access for it, and it's called Call of the Sea. It is it's a story puzzle game. And I was really looking forward to that game, actually. I saw it get teased at that Xbox event, And I like those games. They're fun.
I'm gonna start cutting you off because we need to end the show.
I was trying to actually figure out where would be a time to let you say something.
Yeah,
but Call of the Sea. I recommend checking that out. It's on Game Pass, so people that have that, give it a chance. Check it out.
So we have some other topics. We'll push them to next week. Enjoy playing Cyberpunk. We'll see exactly. It's supposed to be pretty buggy.
We're probably playing it right now.
Yeah, I am. Well, I'm not playing it right now because it's not out yet.
Well, no. When this video comes
out. Yeah, it'll be out several hours after this podcast release.
Yeah, which it comes out 5 p.m. our time because we're on the West Coast, Best Coast.
It's actually 4 p.m. I thought.
No, maybe.
It's 5 p.m. on Xbox, I think, but 4 p.m. on PC. I bought a bunch of Surge. Do you know what Surge is?
The energy drink from the 90s?
It's not an energy drink. It was supposed to be a regular soda.
From the 90s?
Yes.
Yeah.
Had too much caffeine and too much sugar to be allowed at school, so it got banned. Then they stopped making it, and they just started making it again.
I like how schools ban that because it was too sugary and things like that. Yet at 10:30 a.m., they would feed us plastic cardboard pizza and give us chocolate milk.
That's way healthier.
Yeah,
by the way,
America.
fun Surge story. When I was back in school, I drank a 2-liter Surge at recess, and within 3 months, it was banned at the school.
Dude, with the amount of energy I already have, if I drink a Surge, I might transcend time. I might hear colors.
I don't remember what happened after I drank the Surge. I don't remember.
It's one of the side effects of the drink itself.
I still went to classes and stuff. I'm not sure. All right, we end every week, every show week with the obscure Mass Effect character of the week. This week's character is Zemendius, or regards the works of the Enkindlers in despair. Do you remember this character?
Oh, Zemendius.
Of course you don't.
No, I don't, but I like to look him up as you.
Is Zymandis. This is the indoctrinated Hanar diplomat that tries to disable its planet's defenses during Mass Effect 3's Kasumi Goto side mission, which leads to the amazing. And I'm going to just start plugging in the audio right after this.
Took a little bit, Jesus.
Yeah, I've been putting it at the end of the show. I'm going to put it right after I talk right now because it's much better.
Your belief in your victory is mistaken. Our planetary defense network is largely automated. It can be disabled with a single virus, which I have just uploaded.
You big, stupid jellyfish.
One of the best lines in the entire trilogy.
My name is Ozymandias. Oh, hey, do you know what that sounds like a reference of?
It absolutely is a reference of. Yeah, the Ozymandias. They pronounce it Zemendis, even though I'm sure that's not how they wanted it pronounced when they wrote it.
That's a poem.
Yep.
And isn't that poem, the Ozymandias poem, I think that was also the inspiration for the character in The Watchmen.
Probably.
Ozzy, was it?
It's actually said there. So anyway,
Ozymandias
by the way,
in Watchmen.
The character, by the way, also voiced by Mark Meer.
Well, why not? Half of the game is literally voiced by him.
I think I'm going to try to put a streak together of Mark Meer characters.
My favorite thing, like my favorite little voice actor hidden thing with the Mass Effect series was Buzz Aldrin in the game.
He was in I did not know that.
Buzz Aldrin is the person who's reading the kid the book at the end of Mass Effect 3. Like at the end credits, like literally the last thing.
Really?
Yeah, that is Buzz Aldrin. Right. The guy who punched someone who said that he never stepped, like he didn't go on the moon. Buzz Aldrin just knocked the dude.
You used to be able to do that.
What do you mean used to?
I mean, he was old enough to be able to. You can't do that now.
Well, I mean, sure. But
yeah,
it's still awesome that someone went up to him and was like denying he went on the moon, and instead of listening to his shit,
that was the appropriate response was to punch someone in the face. I missed that.
Yeah.
It's no longer socially acceptable.
Well, what was that? That was like 2016?
Yeah, but he's so old that you can get away with it still.
He's also so badass.
All right, we actually have nominations for the Obscure Character of the Week, and I will probably get to every
It
single
was
nomination.
2019. It was last year.
Was it last year?
It was July. It was July 18th, 2019.
So here's your...
Oh, no, it was
want-
2002. Never mind, I'm lying.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You can send your nominations to accidentallycasual@gmail.com, but there's two qualifications. First of all, the character needs to be either equally or more obscure than Conrad Werner. Conrad Werner is the most well-known and obscure character I'm going to allow in this list. And the second thing is I need to be able to acquire an audio clip of the character, and some of those are lost. I have a lot of them, but it's going to be difficult. All right, sweet. This has been episode 17 of the Accidentally Casual Gaming Podcast. Hit
Is
us
it?
up
I thought
at
this was
Accidentally
like
Casual.
episode 5 or.
Dude, we did a whole bunch a couple years ago, and I'm
Well,
just continuing.
I know that.
We've been over this several times.
Yeah, but it's
you
just like
forget. I'm not going to explain it to you.
0.5.
I'm not going to explain it to you every single
Boogaloo.
time. You just forget.
Well,
So there's no point.
it kind of makes it more fun for conversation.
No, not in this time, because I can't even get the outro out, man. I tried to start the outro 20 minutes ago.
That was not 20 minutes ago. You wish it was 20 minutes ago. I am not
probably-
that good.
It probably was. No, I tried to start it, and then it just didn't work out.
What do you call as the outro? When you do the obscure character, or when you start saying the final thing? Because you said the final thing like a freckle past a hair ago. But you talked about
the obscure character is me trying to start the outro.
See, now that's just like
It's the only things on the script. All right, I'm at Minius GC. Tucker's at Tucker Appy. That's Twitter.
Appy
You can
Tucker.
follow us. Yeah. Is it Appy Tucker? God damn it!
Yeah, it's
I have
Appy
it written
Tucker.
down right in front. Okay, it's at Appy Tucker. All right. Enjoy Cyberpunk. Hopefully you can get it to work.
Yeah, we're probably going to be talking about that next. Although, if we talk about it...
I think we'll wait a couple weeks to talk about Cyberpunk because I want to let people play it.
We're not going to talk about spoilers. The rule that I have for spoilers is 3 weeks for movies before you can just openly just kind of talk about spoilers, and 5 weeks for games. And I feel like after 5 weeks or something, we could openly start talking about some of the spoilers. We might want to do a spoiler thing for Cyberpunk.
We've already said we're going to do this.
I think next week, if we're talking about like the gameplay that we're doing or stuff like that, I think that might be fine.
Okay, I think this isn't going to make the podcast, and I'm going to say, well, dude, you keep on interrupting my outro, and it pisses me off. And you do it on purpose because you like to piss
Not
me
on
off.
purpose. I try to find opportunities to
Liar.
go in.
You liar.
It's not on
Catch you guys
purpose.
next
It's
week.
just my nature.
Catch you guys next week. It really bothers me that Craig doesn't pay attention.
He tries his best.
He's a robot.
Well, he's trying his best.